Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we got some Padres news. Juan Soto and the Padres and the Yankees are apparently having some sort of trade negotiations. This is kind of being reported all around the league. It's getting to a point where a lot of people are fully believing that Juan Soto is going to be traded. And not only is he going to be traded, but people are feel pretty confident that he is going to be a Yankee. I find it interesting. Isaac and I find it interesting. We're kind of like, hey, the Yankees aren't really a good trade partner for the Padres. Now, the big thing with why the Padres would want to trade Juan Soto is that they don't have enough pitching. They don't have young pitching. They need arms. They can't increase their salary by more than supposed to be like 30 million. That's like their cap, right? For this offseason. And they need to get 3 more starters at the very least, right? Well, the Yankees aren't going to have starters to move that are worth it for the Padres. Yankees' top prospect or one of their top young players, shortstop. Other top player, outfielder. So it's really odd. So Isaac, you wanna get into a little bit deeper, just like why we are a little bit like why we're not sold that he's going to get traded specifically to the Yankees.
Well, okay. I mean, the first reason that I'm not sold he's going to get traded not only to the Yankees, but not in the first place, is because this is a player that you should build your team around for years to come. He's not a player that you rent for a few years. And, the whole plan when you did get him, when you did acquire him, was see out these 2.5 years, play it out, hopefully win a World Series. If not, at least go to a World Series, get Ted Williams like production out of him. And, I mean, hopefully extend him. That was the plan when you originally got him, or else, because keep in mind, all three of us had said, if you do not extend him, if you do not win a World Series with him, if you don't do these big things with him in these 2.5 years that you have him, you lost. You lost. They already wasted a year of an amazing season from Juan Soto. I thought he had a great year. He had like over a 900 OPS. Defensively, sure, he didn't look great, but he looked better than he did the previous year. And overall, he was just a super valuable player, probably the most valuable hitter for the Padres. Not even really close, because all of Machado, Bogarts, and Tatis had down years. Every single one of them. The only one that had a good year was Juan Soto. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to get rid of your only consistent offensive producer. A guy that, you watch the 2022 playoffs, this guy, he's clutch. He's a guy you want at the plate in the playoffs. He's a guy you want at the plate in the big moments. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What are you going to get out of Anthony Volpe, man? Really? I don't think he's that good. Dominguez, yes, he looked good in his short stint before his injury. Schmidt, King, I mean, really, I say it all the time. I've been saying it to Matt, at least, is almost every time a player trades a superstar or a team trades a superstar, they always end up being on the losing side of the trade. I'm not willing to be on the losing side of losing one of the greatest hitters to ever do it. I don't want that. And even if it's just for another year, see the other year out. You were supposed to get 2 years of Bogarts, Manny, Tatis, and Soto, not just one, not one 83, 84 win season and then call it quits. No, that doesn't make sense. I understand that you want to lower payroll. There's other players you could take off payroll. Even if you have to attach prospects to them. Jake Cronenworth, Ha-seong Kim, Trent Grisham. There's other players that you could get rid of before Juan Soto. Juan Soto is the type of player where if you're going to trade him, you got to be blown away. I'm not blown away by any sort of Yankees deal. That's not a team that I'm thinking wow, that they can make an offer that will blow me away. I think the only reason the Yankees are being brought up is because they're the biggest media team in baseball. I think, let's be real, no one's talking about baseball right now. They need something to talk about. The media needs something to write about. New York needs something to write about. So who are they going to write about? A guy that's on a 1-year deal, that's only has 1 year left on his deal, that just came off a great season on a losing team. Not a losing team, but not a non-playoff team that had high hopes, that's looking to clear money off the books. Of course they're going to talk about Juan Soto. They were talking about Juan Soto at the deadline last year. Derek Jeter was talking about Soto at the deadline last year. This isn't new. They just need something to talk about. And I'm not saying that, I'm not ready for a Juan Soto trade. I am. I'm I'm a Padre fan first. I know how this all goes. Um, I'm prepared for a Juan Soto trade. I'm not prepared to give him to the Yankees. I'm not prepared to take Volpe, Dominguez, whoever else they want to offer, because I just don't really see any of them being contributors the way I see Soto being a contributor. And I guess this goes without saying. I don't want to trade Juan Soto. I think he needs to be in a Padres uniform, not just next year, but the foreseeable future. I hate to say this. I hate to be the one to say it. Manny Machado's money is his money. That's Juan Soto's money. I hate saying that because I love Manny, but that is Juan Soto's money. Xander Bogaerts' money is sure as hell Juan Soto's money. Jay Cronenworth's money is sure as hell Juan Soto's money. Yu Darvish's money is Juan Soto's money. All this money was
No,
given out.
that's Blake Snell's money.
Blake Snell's money is definitely, yeah, that's very true. Yu Darvish's money is Blake Snell's money, 100%. All this money allocated to the wrong resources, the wrong players. You traded for the right player just to give up on him a year and a half in. You went to an NLCS with him. And yeah, this past year didn't go as planned, but to throw in the towel because you're having some money. Look, great general managers, great managers, great, I guess I'll say presidents, they find different ways. They don't trade star players like this. Trading someone like Juan Soto is an A's type move. It's a Rays type move. It's an Indians type move. Isn't that what the Padres aren't trying to be? Aren't they trying to be like the team that acquired the stars? They've been that team for the past few years. They're trying to be like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cardinals. They're trying to be like those teams. They're not trying to be like the teams that I just mentioned before. They're trying to get away from that because they were in that tier before. They were that team that didn't keep star players. And even when they got star players, they would suck. The Padres are trying to shift away from that. And if you're really trying to shift away from that, trading Juan Soto makes no sense. You got to be creative in finding other ways to open up the books, open up money. Be creative. Find a different way. You have two solid starting pitchers. It's not like you don't have some money to work with. You have some. Be creative. Find a way to keep them, because I don't want a lineup without Juan Soto in it. He's your only consistent producer.
And that's the thing. Like, you look at specifically, like, I could see why they would trade him if, like, they're like, hey, we can get, these assets. We don't think he's going to resign. But for next season, if you're just looking at next season, this doesn't really make any sense. Volpe, or however you say his name, he's not very good. And last time I checked, I don't think the Padres needed a 15th shortstop on the roster. I just don't really see that making any sense at all. And then you look at the arms that the Padres would acquire. Okay, the best arm they could go after, and I don't even see this guy get brought up, it would be Nestor Cortez. Like, the Yankees probably aren't going to – it doesn't really make much sense for them to move him, because then, like, now their rotation looks a lot worse. But Nestor Cortez, Michael King, Clark Schmidt, like, okay, why don't we trade Trent Grisham for one of those guys? Like, seriously, like, or sign a guy like that to get the same production. We just brought up, like, the Padres are supposed to have about $30 million spent, right? They already saved an extra $5 million by having that reliever swap. You can do a little bit more of that, and you can sign guys for $10 million that are going to give you the same production. Or you can trade players like a Jake Cronenworth, like Trent Grisham, those guys, and you can end up getting a similar guy. Why would you trade Juan Soto when that's like the piece? And then Hassan Dominguez, like, that's the best piece in this. I asked you before you hopped on, what's the chance that he turns into half of what Juan Soto is? A 20% chance that he's going to be half of the player? Like, okay, so if there is a chance that you can extend him, because I get there's a lot of questions too with the Padres right now. With Peter Seidler passing away, it's like we don't really know what the direction is, because you brought up kind of like what the Padres are trying to get away of. They've been trying to get away from. I think people think they're just going to fall back into that. We don't know. We don't know. But it doesn't seem like that's the plan this year, because if they were going to cut all the payroll, they would be having everyone on the block. Like it wouldn't be a Juan Soto's on the block. That just doesn't make any sense. So it seems like they're still going to try to extend him. It seems like if you don't try to extend him and you just are like, yep, Juan Soto walked and Xander Bogaerts is sitting on the roster, that is insane. That would be one of just that part alone would be one of the dumbest signings. Even if he was pretty good, even if Bogaerts was pretty good, he's better than he was this last year. Because you're already talking about moving Bogaerts to first base. So what, you're going to have a dude that's an aging shortstop and you're going to move him to first base? Like, okay, you can move Juan Soto to first base, right? Because he's not very good in the outfield, but I'll just pull up Juan Soto's Savant just so everyone can see it to understand, like, you're not going to replace this guy. You're not going to. And you going and getting 3-4 guys that are average, they're average players. Let's say Dominguez becomes a good player. You get one good player and a couple guys that are like, replaceable level guys. It makes no sense. Like, this is absurd. Now, this also right here, this isn't too hot. But everything hitting wise, ridiculous. So you're getting one of the best hitters. People were like upset about his season last year. He posted a 930 OPS in one of the least friendly hitters parks in the MLB. If not, no, sorry, not one of it, the least hitter friendly park in the MLB. The worst one to hit in. So I don't know, dude. I'm with you. Like, I don't think it makes sense to trade Soto to the Yankees. I think there are deals. I think there are teams that could put together a package that's big enough to go after him. But I think people are going to keep talking about, like, yeah, he's on a 1-year deal. It's like, okay. All right. Like, he's still Juan Soto. You're still trading for him with the idea that that's going to leverage a potential contract extension with him if you're willing to pay it. So if you're going to go after Juan Soto and you're going to trade for him, but all these reasons are like, it makes sense why teams aren't going to come to the same agreement with the Padres, because they're going to be like, okay, the Padres want too much for 1 year of this guy. And the Padres are going to be like, why would we trade you for this? Now, the deadline, that can make a lot more sense. The Padres struggle and they need to kind of reset, and they're like, we're not going to be able to bring him back. That makes more sense. But to be like, yeah, before we've signed anyone in the winter, the winter meetings haven't even happened yet, and we're going to ship Juan Soto off for a pretty good outfield prospect and maybe a 4 or 5 starter and a shortstop that used to be a high prospect, but he's not really good. It's our least, the thing we need least. We don't even know where we would put him. He's what, shortstop 7? like, dude, like, they have too many. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, like, it kind of just feels like when it got brought up last year, like we were talking about this. And what we said, Isaac, was we said, if a team's going to trade for Juan Soto, it's the Orioles. It's the Orioles, because they can trade some of their guys. They can do that, and they could extend him, and they could have him being like the first guy they extend with a young core. There wasn't many other teams that made sense. So, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it with the Yankees at all. The Yankees fans maybe be like, you guys aren't going to get that much. And I don't think he's going to get traded. I just don't. I don't see it. And I don't know why that package would be an absurdly low package for, like, players we've even seen recently. Like,
yeah,
the only
no,
one I can think of that was bad was like the Trey Turner one, which that was just weird.
yeah, it was also, it was weird. Also included one of the best pitchers to ever do it. But no, man, you're right. I don't see it with the Yankees. It's literally only because they're the Yankees that they're being brought up. It's only the Yankees that I've seen. And Hector Gomez on Twitter saying, like, no, Giants are also in it, Blue Jays. But come on, really? Like, what do any of these teams realistically have to offer? Everyone's going to say, oh, what about this young pitcher? What about this young pitcher? Dude, none of them are giving you Juan Soto production. None of them. That's almost a guarantee. It's almost a guarantee none of these guys will ever turn into Juan Soto. So, I don't know, man. The way I see it, you traded a lot to get him. You traded C.J. Abrams, who was a number 1 prospect at a time. You traded Mackenzie Gore, who was the number 1 prospect at a time. Robert Hassel, top 30 prospect. James Wood, one of the top 10 prospects right now. Harlan Susana, also a good prospect. You traded so much, too much, to just give up a year and a half in. You went to an NLCS without Xander Bogaerts, without Fernando Tatis. Yeah, you had a damn good pitching staff, but I just don't think it's smart to just say, you know what? I don't see any other way to do it. We have to trade Juan Soto. No, there's other ways to do it. If you're creative, if you find a way to do it, you'll do it. That's the thing. AJ Preller, his job's on the line, man. I truly think his job should be on the line. I'm surprised he's still here in the first place. The wrong part of leadership isn't coming back. Or the wrong part of leadership is coming back, which is AJ Preller. The right part of leadership left for a different organization, unfortunately. But not to say I don't believe in Mike Schilt. I like Mike Schilt. But I don't know, man. I don't think trading Juan Soto does you a lot of favors. I think it does more harm than good. Juan Soto's the player that put all those buttons, but obviously Fernando too. Juan Soto's the player that put all those butts in those seats last year. He's a player that brings in a lot of revenue. He's a player that gets everyone excited. He's a player that puts you on primetime TV. He's a player that gets you talking about the Padres. He's a player that makes you into the organization that you want to be. Trading him puts you in the tier of the organizations you don't want to be again. Winning teams keep MVP type players. Losing teams that only have small windows of success, like us, formerly in the past. Shit, we didn't even have windows of success for a long time. But losing teams trade the Juan Sotos, trade the Randy Arozarenas, trade Blake Snells. And sure, they go to the playoffs. What do they even do? They don't do anything. Is that our goal? Is that what we want to do? We just want to make the playoffs? The NLCS sure as hell was fun. World Series would have been a lot more fun. There's ways to do it. So do we want to be like those teams that just go to the playoffs, don't do anything? The A's, the Guardians, Rays. These guys all just trade their best players. No, I want to be the team that acquires the best players and goes to the World Series.
I'm there with you. I also feel like the Brewers, not that they traded guys away, but they're in that like group of like, is it really that much success if you make the playoffs, but you don't have a chance? Like, because you always know, like in the National League, like you always know, like, okay, the Brewers are going to the playoffs, they're going to get bounced in probably the first round, and then that's happened like the last couple. Like, it's just like they're not very exciting. Like they can get in, but they're not like a true threat. Like even like some teams where it's like they're a wild card, but it's like, yeah, like the Phillies. Like the Phillies have been like that, where it's like Phillies are nice. So yeah, I don't know, man. I just think like I'm with you. Like I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And I think you're right. Like I just don't know what to expect from the Padres. That's why I think that there's still a chance that Soto does end up being traded. But the idea that he's like for sure gonna get moved when Hector Gomez, who's been like absolute money on all things, basically all things like Dominican Republic players, like everything like that. He's really good. He's really accurate. And specifically for Juan Soto, he was like the first guy that was like he's like on him being a Padre, getting traded to the Padres. So and he's the whole time he said the Padres want to have an extension with him. Juan Soto wants to have an extension with the Padres. He wants to stay. It seems like I don't know, that's what it seems like from a lot of sides too. Like, and I think you're right. Like we hear a lot of stuff like to the Yankees, and it's like, what is the deal? Like, there's not. I was like, you just brought up all those prospects. A year and a half, or 2.5 years to 1 year, does not drop off the prospect capital that much. That is way too high of a drop off of the prospect capital that it would take. And if you're the Padres, if you're gonna get offered that, you'd be like, why? We could go somewhere else and they're going to offer us more. There's going to be a lot of teams that will just take him for a year rental that will pay more. Like, so that's the part that I don't understand. And that's the part that's really confusing when I'm like, I don't think that makes any sense. But I think that's probably going to do it tomorrow, or I don't know if tomorrow, but tomorrow or the next day, we'll have a video out on basically on Randy Rosarena. If Juan Soto is traded, like kind of contingency plans, what does that look like? And we'll talk about more specifics in like what we would want to see from a Juan Soto trade. So like, okay, he's moved. You're going to need to stock up on pitching. You're going to need to do this. You're going to need to go get an outfielder, like that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that, kind of like what the aftermath of Juan Soto should look like from our perspective if there was going to be a trade. But as far as Juan Soto trade rumors go, I don't think that we should sit back and be like, yeah, it's a lock he's traded. Is there a chance? Absolutely. Is it for sure? No. Just because there's trade talks being reported, that doesn't, dude, there's trade talks every year where nothing happens. So I think everyone needs to pump the brakes on like, yeah, he's good as gone. Because I think it's jumping the gun. But that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you all for listening. We'll be talking about Juan Soto. We'll be keeping you updated, monitoring the news on him. Obviously, offseason, we're starting to see some more signings, starting to see things, pick up a little bit. Cardinals have filled out their pitching staff in an extremely interesting way, which I saw an argument for the Cardinals pitching staff. I don't know if you saw this video, Isaac, but it was basically saying that they just need quality starts because their offense is so good and this is the way to do it. But I would argue you could also just sign better players.
Where was their offense so good last year?
Well, that was the guy's argument. I don't know, man. I don't understand it. I thought it was odd moves.
It's really odd.
Especially with the players that are available pitching wise.
Yeah.
In the trade market, in free agency.
What'd they say? All you need is quality starts. Lance Lynn? Where the hell are you getting those quality starts from Lance Lynn?
Hey, believe it or not, dude, Lance Lynn actually it's more about like them eating up innings. Because if you eat up innings and you're not that great, you run into a lot of quality starts.
He's
you can go six innings every night.
3 runs, yeah.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I still don't like it. It's like, why not just sign good players?
Yeah, literally.
It seems like I've noticed this with sports. Is like whenever it's like you have these deals where like it's like it feels like it might be an overpay. It's like when you don't overpay, it's like when you sign like top end guys. When you sign like the kind of middle level players, that's where you get burned.
Always an overpay. It's almost always an overpay. Like waiting for Waka was perfect because you didn't have to overpay for him. Getting Lugo, perfect. Dude, I hated that Nick Martinez signing. But that's where you get hurt, man, when you sign mediocre players for like for good production for 1 year. So
well, and that's the thing, like you got value out of it. It's not always gonna work, but also like you're not stuck in it for 4 seasons, which still makes it crazy that Nick Martinez.
He did us a favor. Thank you.
Yeah, by opting out, that was nuts.
Later. I don't know, wherever you're not getting as much money as you were gonna get from us, but bye for sure.
Well, maybe he will for 1 year, but like the chance he's gonna make all that money over the next few years, I feel like that's bold, dude. It's a bold move.
Have fun in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Okay, final thing I want to bring up, and then we'll take off. Emilio Pagan is playing in Cincinnati, the worst possible spot for him, dude. I saw that and I was like, no way the Reds did this. This is insane. The dude that has one of the highest fly ball rates got lit up in San Diego. And you're going to sign him to a 2-year deal to be one of your, more important relievers in Great America Small Park?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Yeah. Not only one of the highest fly ball rates, dude, it's one of the highest home run rates. Like, at one point, he led the league in home run percentage. So, yeah, he actually might get cut like halfway through the season.
He might go for a record. Not a good one, but he might go for a record.
I'd watch.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it. Got a couple, MLB updates at the end there. But, yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on the Juan Soto trade rumors. I think there's a lot to unpack, but that's where we're at. So we'll have some more stuff on him. And then next week, we'll hopefully get some more free agency stuff out. Kind of hard to see, like, what's going to happen. It's so weird how free agency is slow. And then all of a sudden we'll just pick up super heavy and it'll be like, oh, we got so much news, so many rumors, so many guys to talk about. But right now it's just kind of like, this is our thoughts on this. This is our thoughts on this, on just random stuff. So, but that's going to do it for today. So thank you all for listening. And hopefully Juan Soto is not traded.